Hey guys, welcome to Krishpira Innovations and more. And today I'm going to be doing a small workshop that I have done for GDSC, which is a Google Developer Student Club and a Google Developer Group recently. And this is a machine learning workshop, um, and it uses Teachable Machine and it uses p5.js and ml5.js. I will be covering what they are shortly. So let's get started. Um, Essentially, what we're going to do in this workshop is that there are four stages to this. First, we're going to describe what the theory is behind the project. Uh, then we'll discuss what the teachable machine is exactly, the thing that I'm going to use to actually code the project. We're going to code the interface using p5.js, which is I'm going to cover what that is. And finally, we're going to see if there is any errors and we can solve that, right? So the theory, um, well, what is machine learning, right? This word is thrown around a lot. Machine learning this, machine learning that. Machine learning is the new normal. Artificial intelligence, AI, ML. But what exactly is machine learning? Well, it is a way of teaching computers to recognize patterns and make predictions based on data without being told exactly how to do so. That is what ChatGPT has to say about machine learning. Basically, it's about basically think about it like learning, right? Like, what is learning? You read something, or you see something, or you hear about something, right? And you understand what that is. And later on, when you're asked to recall what that is, you try to make connections with what you've learned, with what you've not learned, with something that you cannot recognize. And yeah, that's essentially learning, and that is being implemented by the machine, the computer in this case. And right. So, what is Teachable Machine? Teachable Machine is an experiment that Google had done, and it is a web-based tool that makes creating machine learning models fast, easy, and accessible to everyone. It is very intuitive. So, when you go to the website for Teachable Machine, you'll understand it's pretty much self-explanatory about how you can work it out. But we're going to see how to do that in this tutorial today as well. Um, Also, Teachable Machine is based on this neural network known as MobileNet. And well, you can see in the green box right there, what is a neural network? It's a pre-trained model where essentially there is this database known as ImageNet, right? And ImageNet is essentially a database of a lot of images of animals, and they're classified as like what those images are. Like there are pictures of rabbit under the label of rabbit. There are pictures of different types of birds under the name of those birds that are there. And that is being trained over this neural network, which is MobileNet. And what Teachable Machine does is that it uses this neural network known as MobileNet and allows us to put a database of our own onto this network so that we can create a model that we can later on use for our purposes. I'm going to show you what that means. But this entire concept that Teachable Machine uses is known as transfer learning. All right. And what is p5.js and ml5.js? Well, they're JavaScript libraries that we are going to use, and each of them has a purpose of its own. So p5.js is used for creative coding, and that's why we are going to use p5.js to actually build the user interface. It's a very simple user interface. There isn't a lot of things going on in there. And ml5.js is essentially used so that we can, uh, you know, use machine learning in the browser itself. So there is no need for you to download anything onto your computer locally. All right. So, how are we going to use Teachable Machine? Um, I would want you guys to first open that link that's there in the browser. Also, all the links to all of this will be provided in the description as well if you guys want. So yeah, when you open the link, this is what it should look like. Give me 1 second. All right. This is what you should see. Essentially what this is it's, as you can see, it's a fast, easy way to create machine learning models for websites, apps, and more. And no expertise is required for coding or anything like that. So let's get started. And you have these three options, right? So you will choose an image project. Right now, we're going to work with an image project, but as you can see, you can also make an audio project or a post project, which something you can experiment with after this video. We're going to make a standard image project at the moment. All right, you see how intuitive this layout is? It's pretty self-explanatory about what is going on here, right? You have to classify two image sets, right, which have certain differences of some kind. And then we have to train those, and we'll get a sort of a model that we can later on use in whatever we want, right? Right now, what I'm going to do is I am going to train two random data sets. I will just be using my webcam, and I will be taking pictures of my face, and then I'll be taking pictures of my face obstructed, by a certain object. So let's just see how that looks, right? And you can see that I'm taking multiple pictures and moving my head around so that I can have, multiple test cases, so that it has, a lot of data to train itself over. Right now, it took 158 image samples. Well, we can take more, I think. A good number would be somewhere between 200 and 300 samples. If you take a lot of samples, that also makes the model very sensitive, which you probably do not want, because the more sensitive your model is, the more uncertain it is as to what exactly it is doing. Like, even the slightest change might, affect the model a lot, which you do not want. It's like a sweet spot that you have to hit. Like, you do not want a lot of image samples, but at the same time, you do not want very less image samples, if you get what I mean. So we're going to name this Krish. All right. Let's go to this. Let's take, what should we take? Let's take this mug here with the GDSE sign. And let's write GDSE. GDSE stands for Google Developer Student Club as well. All right, let's take different image samples. Again, I'm gonna wave the mug around so that it has different test samples to test with, move my head around a little bit. All right, around the same number, 206, 238, maybe a little less, but that's fine. After we're done with making our image classes, right now I'm just taking 2 classes. You can take more if you want. But once you're done with your classes, what you can do is you can just train the model. It'll take a little bit of time training the model. And as you see, you shouldn't switch tabs while it is training, because essentially this entire training of the neural network is happening in the browser itself. That's why you shouldn't change tabs. And once it's done, you can see the preview of this classifier right here, and you see how right now it's classifying 100% Krish, but the moment I bring this in, it's showing that there is GDSE, Krish, GDSE, Krish. Takes a little bit of time, but GDSE, Krish, GDSE. All right, this is a little uncertain because if you see the images here, there isn't a lot of difference. The main difference is this white spot that's there. The thing about Teachable Machine is that it cannot very well detect very minute changes. For instance, let's say if I smile or if I do something else, those are not obvious changes, if you get what I mean. So for instance, if I were to make another class where, let's say, okay, let's take this thing. Let's say I was covering my entire face with paper, right? Yeah, and you want to take different data sets. Oh, you can take different data sets. Oh my God. Right? And we'll just say paper, which is a pretty obvious difference from, the previous two classes. And then we can train the model again. It'll take some time training. We don't have to go through, we don't have to change tabs. Oh, also, you can, change the epochs. So you can read what all of these words mean, but essentially you can customize the way that it is being trained according to how you want it to be, which is pretty cool, I guess. And yeah, now we have Krish, GDSE, and paper. Perfect. All right. And now, once you have this model ready, what you can do is you can export the model, and you can actually see the entire model written in JavaScript and TensorFlow and TensorFlow Lite. If you want, you can download the model as well, have it, offline. But there is an alternate option to upload the model, which is amazing because essentially what it will do is it will upload the model on your Google Drive, since you have to sign in while using this tool. And the moment it uploads the model, you will essentially get a link, which is kind of like an API that you can use anywhere you want. What you can do is you can just copy this link on your clipboard and keep it ready for when you're going to use it. And yeah, that's pretty much it with teachable machines. So let's get back to the presentation. Give me 1 second. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Hey, I'm back. All right. So now that we're done with teachable machine, let's move on. Let's get coding. So you can use this code template that I've already prepared. This is actually the code template that the coding train had used, and I'm just inspired by him. So that's how, I came up with this entire tutorial. So, credit goes out to him. So I'm going to use this code template, and let me show you what that looks like. Also, if there is any point in the project where you've lost track, you can just go to this GitHub repository. I'll be putting this down in the description as well, and you can just check it out there. But now that I've opened it up here, let me show you what you can see. So essentially, the moment you go to the perfect. So the moment you go to the template, you'll be able to see this. This is the p5.js editor, which essentially will allow you to write code to design your interface, your user interface. So I think it's pretty cool. You'll see that it's it's very similar to how vanilla CSS, JavaScript, and HTML works, basic web designing works. And even if you're not used to coding, this is a very good way to start to get to know how all of these things work. So what you do is the important thing that I want you to notice is that we've incorporated the ML5 library in the HTML file itself. In the index.html file, you'll be able to see that we've incorporated the ML5 library, and we have the 1.1.9 version of this editor, because I remember that was a sort of issue that we had to handle earlier on. But let me just explain what's going on with this code right here. Essentially, it's creating a canvas where it will be displaying, you will be able to see it in preview, but you will be able to see your camera output here. Let me show you how that looks. So if I run the code, hey, ho, you can see me here. Now, let's actually get started, right? Now we want to work on getting that logic that we had in the teachable machine here. So let me just get my paper and let's get started. So what are we going to do initially, right? We are going to initialize our model because we want to import the model that we had made in teachable machine onto this editor right here. So we're going to initialize a variable known as classifier. And in step one, we're going to preload the model. So we're going to write function known as preload. And in this function, we're going to take classifier, the variable that we had initialized, and we're going to use the ML5 library and call this function known as image classifier. And what we're going to use as a parameter for this function is the link that we had originally taken from our project. So you can see this image model right here, right? And you remember this link. So you copy that shareable link after you've exported your model, and you would paste it here in the parameter for the image classifier. Now take note that you will paste it within quotation marks. I'm sorry, I forgot what they're called. But yeah, after you've done that, make sure to not forget the semicolon. But that is pretty much it. And then what we do is we actually start classifying stuff. So we will call a function that we have not yet written. Classify, oh, that's all caps. Classify video. All right. We've not yet written what this function actually does. So what we're going to do is actually write the function. So function classify video. What goes inside the function is this line of code. Classifier, which is the variable that we have. So essentially the link that we stored, the dot classify. What are we going to classify? So essentially what we're doing right now is we're going to put this input that p5.js is taking, right? This is a separate input from what Teachable Machine had. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this input, which is known as video. And what are we going to do? We're going to put it in to that model that's there so that we can get results. That's why the second one is the second parameter. This function is known as got results. All right. What is got results, you ask? You will get to know pretty soon. Now, if you run this, you're definitely going to get an error. Let me run this. So you see how we are getting an error? That's because got results is not defined. So let's define what got results is. Function got results. Now, whenever you're going to run this function, right, there are going to be two types of results that you're going to have. One, it's either going to be an error, or two, you're actually going to get the results that you want. Now, if it is an error, then console.error error else So if it is an error, then it's going to throw an error. But if it is not an error, then we want it to actually show us what the results are, right? So we're going to do console.log results. See what the results look like. All right, the code looks pretty good so far. Let's see what we get when we run it. All right, so there are 3 things that we got in this console. As you can see, it's taking my video input. It's running it through the model, and we're getting a JSON output, which has 3 variables. The first one is a object which has 3 objects. First object is with label Krish with the confidence of 0.999. Second object is GDSE, and the third object is paper. What is this exactly? So essentially what the output is these are our results, right? This is what we were seeing right here. You see, when we were getting, when this was a webcam, it was taking my input and it was giving me an output here. It was giving me 2 types of output. It was giving me Krish, which is the label of the output, and it was giving me the confidence of the output. And that's exactly what is happening right over here. I'm getting the label of the output and I'm getting the confidence. And what are we interested in? We're just interested in the label. So what we are going to do is we're going to instantiate or initialize a new variable known as label. And what we're going to do is we're going to store this result inside of label. But we don't want to store the entire result, right? You saw when results was called, the entire JSON file was outputted, but we don't want the entire JSON file. We want the option with the most confidence. And that is always going to be the first option that's there in the JSON file. That's why we do results 0. This is going to return this first object. But again, do we need the entire object? We don't really need the entire object. We just need the label of the object. So results is 0.label. This will return Krish. However, if we want to see, right now it's just assigning label a value, but we actually want to see label pop up in this user interface, right? So we will need to draw the label. How do we do that? Well, text size 32 essentially means the text would be like 32 pixels big. Text align, center, pretty self-explanatory. The text is being aligned to the center. Let's fill the text red in color, and now let's actually call the text. This label, where do we want it? We want it in the middle of the screen, which is width divided by 2, and we want it in the bottom of the square that we see on the right, which would be height minus 16 pixels. All right, let's not forget the semicolon. Code looks good. Let's see what we get. Perfect. You see how it is classifying the input as Krish. This is all right, but essentially we got what we wanted. Now, there is one thing that is a little problematic. You see how when we were using this, it was continuously classifying. So the moment I put this, it goes to paper, or the moment I put this in front of my face, it goes to GDSE. However, when I'm using my p5.js library, the moment I put this, no difference. The moment I put this, no difference. Well, the reason is because we're only classifying, we're only calling that function once, and then we're leaving it. That's why we need to call that function again, but in such a manner that it is being called again and again and again and again. This is known as recurrence, or being called again and again. So what is happening here is essentially, you see how we're calling got results function in classify video? Well, now we'll be calling classify video in got results, which will make it into an endless loop. So label 0, label classify video. And that should solve the problem of live feed. Now you can see Krish, and the moment I put this, it's paper. The moment I use this, GDSE. This, guys, is what we were going to build, and the applications of this are insane. Like, I remember that me and my friend, for our first hackathon, we had used this technology to build a mask detector application. And what we did was essentially we took databases of people at the hackathon wearing masks and not wearing masks, and we ran them over Teachable machine. We got an API and we used that in this p5.js editor, and actually created a user interface of our own where, if people were wearing masks, then it said thank you for wearing masks. If they weren't wearing masks, then we had a box of masks right in front of them for them to take it. Also, if you go on the Teachable Machine website, if I just remove this, leave, you can see that there are a lot of different things that Teachable Machine has been used for. It has been used to make a sorter, an arcade. There is the project Euphonia, where they use it to communicate in new ways. I think Teachable Machine is genuinely a game changer when it comes to, learning machine learning, or, getting at least familiarized, because machine learning seems like an alien word to everybody, right? It's not for me, it's not for me. Oh, I'm not a coder, I don't know what to do. But it really is as simple as that, right? And yes, it can get difficult, it can get sophisticated. But if you want to just, dabble around, I think this is the best way to actually get to know what exactly machine learning is about. You can also play around with the audio and post projects that Teachable Machine offers, and you can play around with code in CSS, in JavaScript, HTML, to actually see what are the different things that you can do with it. I would want to give credit to the coding chain to actually give me the inspiration to do this video, because of him, I was able to actually conduct a workshop in GDSE. GDSE is Google Developer Student Club, which is a student organization at the University of South Florida. It's essentially there are chapters around the world, but I am from the chapter at University of South Florida, and this was actually one of the workshops that I had done at there. So I hope you liked the workshop. I hope you learned something. I am honestly super proud about this project of mine, especially because the day that we actually had the workshop, this was the first GitHub commit of a lot of my members, because they were freshmen, and usually, in universities, the first semesters, usually they don't teach you coding. So you're not introduced to, various websites like GitHub or something like that. So I think I was pretty proud about this project being the first commit for a lot of my club members. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any doubts. Reach out to me, you know, below, if you want clarification with anything. And yeah, this is Krish Veera signing off. Thank you.